Hello and welcome to We Got Issues, the only comic book show that has the courage to tell you that comics should just be for fun and not used for investment. Sorry, speculators. Hi, I'm Brian Compton, aka BComp, and joining me as always is the utility belt to my batsuit, Josh Markwith.
I'm an inanimate object.
So am I. I'm a
I keep
batsuit.
going down. Oh, don't try to. I'm like the secondary inanimate object. That's not even great. So don't try to I am too. No, I'm secondary. That's not even. And then you could hear CGC collectors in the background after the intro going, "Why? I spent $4,500 on Rocket Raccoon's first appearance at
I'm
a
gonna be
CGC
on.
10."
Yeah, I would say, I gotta be honest, I don't really like collecting CGC comics because for me a comic should be read. It's meant to be read, and when it's sealed in that mylar, that plastic hard case, it's yeah, it looks pretty and that's cool, but it can't be read. That's the point of a comic, is to be read. Feel the newsprint, and I know you want to keep it mint, and I try to keep mine protected as well. It's just, I don't know. And I think if you're using comics to invest, you're missing the point. It's the same with people who collect magic cards and then they seal it. And a magic card is meant to be played. I can understand maybe a baseball card because it's kind of inanimate. You can look at both sides, but it's a comic. It's a magic card. Use it, play with it, read it. Don't tear it up. Don't bend it, but enjoy it.
Who collects TCG cards and doesn't play the game? Those people are weird. I don't know about you, especially
sorry,
One
buddy.
Piece cards.
I apologize.
No.
I know.
No.
I'm sorry, man.
But that's why digital is so good. You get
True.
You get the CGC and then you read it on digital, and everybody's happy.
It's like that Toy Story 2 where they find, the was it the old miner is trapped in the plastic, never got played with. It just reminds me of that.
Yeah. Or is this the one for me, one for the shelf?
It's true. I mean, I wish I could afford to actually do that, buy, one to store and one to read, but I'd rather just have 2 issues of one of something new,
New, yeah.
Yeah, it's use that money and buy something I haven't read before, but I digress.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of comics, today we should probably talk about comics on this comic podcast.
You think, right?
We're starting. What's that?
You'd think, right?
You'd think. Today we're starting part 1 of the Batman Origins episode. We're taking a look at the seminal miniseries Batman Year 1. It and Batman Year 2 were recently collected in DC's latest line of trades. It's called DC's Finest. And we'll be covering Year 2 and possibly Year 3 in the next couple of episodes.
You know what's interesting about the DC's Finest, and it's funny that I saw this on Reddit this morning, but somebody posted that they show for Batman Year 1, it's using the original coloring and the usual the original inks for DC's Finest, which is not what I had when I read the books, the trade that I had, or even the digital ones as well. So it's just kind of interesting that they go to the origin of it.
Yeah, the actual newsprint, because they were using the original coloring because it was new. They knew they were going to be printed these comics on newsprint anyway. And later in the show, we also have something else going on. Is that correct, Josh?
Yeah, it was funny enough. We had a fan on Blue Sky, which, yes, we do have fans, everybody. I'm just as surprised as you are. Ooh, 7 fans. I'm just as surprised as everybody else. But it was Benny Six Cats, which I think Benny Six Cats has a little bit of an origin to We Got Issues in the first place. He's probably kind of ingrained in our origin. But he reached out to us on Blue Sky to get our thoughts on the Avengers Doomsday cast announcement that just happened. I don't know, Brian, if you saw this. It was like a 4-hour live stream of just chairs. It was.
I did not watch that 4 hours.
You didn't? Wow. Okay. Call yourself a fan.
In my old days, I would have had that thing on in the background. We were losing our mind every 15 minutes as every trailer was revealed. But
thank God for internet people who cut it down to a minute. It just went smooth too. So it was great.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
But then we also had additional news from CinemaCon that just happened over the weekend. So Warner Brothers had their big panel there, or is panel, I don't know, whatever you call it,
Whatever.
at CinemaCon panel, and then so did Marvel or Disney did as well. And I
Okay.
mean, theirs was mainly about Thunderbolts, and we can discuss a
Asterisk.
little bit of that. Yeah, Thunderbolts asterisk. You can't say that right. Asterisk. I have
I
to
don't know
say it
what
like
it
that. Asterisk. All right. But before we can do all that, guess what time it is, Brian?
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say promo time.
Whoa, it's almost like you have the script right in front of you. Yes, it's promo
But
time.
this is all off the cuff. There is no script. We are just
Right.
making this up as we go
This
along.
is it's totally the whole thing is just at the top of our heads. But like all our other episodes so far, this one is brought to you by Duff and Shaw Snacks. Now, whether it's giant gummy anacondas, Nessie's golden almond eggs, or the new green apple alien gummies, Duff and Shaw Snacks and candy are curated from the most mysterious and undiscovered places on planet Earth, uncovering flavors that will give you stories to tell your children's children. And now go to duffandshaw.com/issues today and check out all they've got and more. And that's duffandshaw.com/issues for the most legendary snacks in the world. And use that URL, helps the podcast.
Please, it really does help us out. All
We need
right.
the money. No, we
Yeah,
don't.
no kidding.
But no, the grace.
I'm unemployed, sir. I
Yep.
do.
We need the money. No, but they're great snacks though, and it helps us out. So it's a win-win-win-win for your children's children.
Plus, Duff or Shaw is he's a good dude. He's a good dude.
Duff and Shaw are good dudes.
Yeah, I don't know Duff personally, but I'm assuming if he keeps company with Shaw, he must be good as well because
Yeah.
Shaw's good people. Now, as we mentioned earlier, we are looking at Batman Year One.
This kind of started a little bit of an inchworm into our brains, and kind of started from there when we did our first episode. I discussed Gotham Central, and we kind of discussed other Batman stories and stuff that was good that people should be reading. And we've kind of been wanting to do Batman Year One since then. And it's kind of the start of everybody's favorite Cape Crusader, and in getting his start in the mean streets of Gotham, and a lot of the impact of how the Batman character is done today, but then also in other medias as well.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, and as I mentioned in the intro, thankfully DC has compiled, all these stories along with all the issues surrounding them. Like he was like in this their latest collection, DC's Finest. This is similar to what Marvel does with their Epic collections, where it's like here's where they're printed, here's when they came out, here's what was going on. Um, I'm a big fan of the Epic collections. I think I have every single one of them, and I'm not including the
Hmm.
Star Wars ones and the Conan ones, and they're doing the Ultimate Epic collections now and the Modern Epic collections. I don't know if I'm going to be able to afford to do all the DC's finest ones, but I really like what they're doing. It's a pretty penny in the sense that it's like $40, but you're getting like 25 to 30 issues, and it's really fun to read them all.
It's well worth it for sure.
It is. It absolutely is. And especially when you get things like Year One, and even like they said, Year Two is in this. So you get art by Alan Davis and with Todd McFarlane, and you got obviously Frank Miller writing some stories in here as well. There are a lot of bang for your buck, and I really do appreciate it. I will say though, it is interesting reading 80s Batman versus like modern Batman because they are two different Batman. You know what I mean? Like this one's like cracking jokes every once in a while, and he's kind of really brutal, and like it's just interesting to see like how much Batman has grown as a character over the last like 20 to 30 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, interesting enough. When do you think that switch kind of happened? I mean, not just the 80s, 90s, but is there like a story that kind of you would say kind of moved that needle to more serious?
I would honestly say it's got to be. I mean, this is just me off the cuff. I have no way to look at but I would say it's probably around when Chuck Dixon was doing the book along when like Rucka and Brubaker took over. So I would say somewhere around Nightfall to No Man's Land is when we kind of really see that switch. Is like kind of bridges the gap. And I think post No Man's Land is where we have like the modern version. That when I say modern, like the version of Batman we know him. But I would say you even see it in Nightfall a little bit too. You know what I mean? Like when that's I would say that would be my take on it. I mean, who knows? I could be completely wrong about that.
Well, do you also think maybe like the Dark Knight in the Dark Knight Returns, the Frank
Oh,
Miller stuff kind of started that?
oh, do you mean the start of it? Yes, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
that's what I
even
mean. The
that, yeah.
start, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, 100%. But even then, like Batman is still like really like he's like you punks. You know what I mean? Like
Oh
he's
yeah, yeah.
not as like mean. I don't know if that's the word for it, but he's mean. Like he's kind of I don't say petty, but there's like a meanness to him. Like,
Mhm.
and it's almost like he takes glee in like what he's doing, whereas it feels like this is, the modern version of Batman, or at least when I say the modern, the last 10, 20 years, he feels a lot more like this is a mission. I'm not taking it personal, but this is a mission
Gotcha.
kind of thing. I don't know. I could be full
Yeah.
of shit.
Well, we usually are, and that people
Yep.
listen to us, so that's kind of a win-win still. I'm on this win-win kick right now, so I'm just going to
Okay.
keep that going.
Okay.
Um, just for everybody to know and for you to know. Now, of course, we got our sponsor out of the way, but now we got to get to another we got issues tried and true tradition in episode 9, and that's the blurb on the back of the book. So I'm gonna read this one this time.
You're
I
taking
think
this.
so.
I got the last one. This is yours, baby.
Yeah. Oh, this is my turn. In
My
1986, we
turn.
yeah my my turn.
Sorry, that's an inside joke. My turn.
Yeah, God. That's so, God, that's hilarious. We're just driving around too, and just my turn.
My turn. Kudos to
That's what I
anybody who
do,
knows what that.
Yugi. That's
It's
what
what I
you
do.
do. You didn't see this coming. Pot of greed. Okay.
Pot
No.
agree.
So in 1986, which is the year I was born, in 1986, Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli produced this groundbreaking reinterpretation of the origin of Batman, who he is, and how he came to be. Sometimes careless and naive, this Dark Knight is far from the flawless vigilante he is today. In his first year on the job, Batman feels his way around a Gotham City far darker than the one he left. His solemn vow to extinguish the town's criminal element is only half the battle. Along with Lieutenant James Gordon, the Dark Knight must also fight a police force more corrupt than the scum in the streets. So that's blurb of
Yeah,
back.
yeah, that's it. That's it. Initially published in February of 1987, this was a four-issue miniseries, or not miniseries. This is a four-issue story arc that actually ran in the Batman issues 404 through 407, kind of cementing that this is canon. A lot of times in those days when it was like a miniseries, like, well, you could take it or leave it. This was like saying, no, this is canon. This is real. This is happening. It was written by Frank Miller and drawn by David Mazzucchelli, as we mentioned. Now, you had mentioned you were born in '86, so I'm assuming you probably didn't read it in singles when it came out. When did you get exposed to it? And did you read it in singles? Did you read it in trade? And on top of that, what was your general impressions of the book?
It was
Josh.
on my pull list out of the womb. That's where it was, even before I was born. So,
Yeah.
no, I got it in a trade when funny enough, the story I mentioned about the Infinite Crisis. It
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like
yeah.
that whole book, like you can order books off a magazine or
Okay.
like type of thing. Batman Year One was one of those, and that's where I got it, and I
Okay.
read it from there.
Oh wow.
It
So
was
that
what
was like one of your first like trades then.
Yeah, yeah, and of course, Batman. Everybody knows Batman and everything. I
Yeah.
thought it was like a cool origin story of Batman. It was,
Yeah.
and I think it was the deluxe version too. So it was just like with the red and the black kind of cover with Batman on
Okay.
the front. So
Oh,
it's
nice, nice.
one of my first trades. Yeah.
No, that's cool. That's really cool.
What about you?
Uh,
Did you pick it up when you were picking up your kids from school?
yeah. No, I was about 7 or 8 at the time when it came out. Ironically enough, I had somehow gotten my hands on, issues, I wanna say 407 and 409? To remember real quick. No, yeah, 407 and 409. It was parts It was 405, sorry, 405 and 407. So I had parts 2 and 4. Somehow
Mm.
I got in my hands and I got in my hands on the first one, 407 first. So I just read this random issue where Batman is, kicking ass, kind of around town. I was like, I don't know what's going on here, but it's cool, and had no idea of the impact of what that was. And I got that like pretty much when I was in like right around like the end of high school. So it would have been around 97 or so that I would have picked up that first issue.
Mhm.
Had no idea that this was like part of a greater mythology. Because like again, I was a Marvel kid, didn't really care for like, a lot of the DC stuff. So I was like, oh, this is cool. It's a Batman story. As I got older, I'm like, oh, that's a really important issue to his mythology. Holy shit. And so I went out and tried to find the other ones, could only find 405. And so, that's all I read until obviously trades came out. And, I have like three different versions of year one around the house, I think.
Here's
Um,
here's the question though: did you get a
yeah.
CGC graded?
No,
I'm
I
kidding.
didn't.
I'm kidding. No.
I although it's funny you should mention that. I was at the shop today. I was because I'm on a real deep dive kick on picking up like old like Superman issues from the 80s and 90s, like at a dollar bins. Like I don't know why I'm like
Oh yeah.
obsessed with like Superman issues right now from like the 80s and 90s. But I was talking to the store owner. I was like, hey man, if you come across a 404 or a 406, I don't need them in, like he's like, just like very good. He's like, yeah, just very good condition. I just don't want them shitty. He's like, yeah, it's like, I'll keep an eye out for you. So if they come across them,
Nice.
I'm going to grab them that way. But
You
yeah,
know, yeah, you and I always go around shops. We tell each other our
yeah,
white whales or
yeah,
our grails too. So yeah, so I'll
yeah. You
keep an
found
eye
the,
out too.
yeah, you found Thunderbolts number 12 for me, I believe.
As I did, I also found, funny enough, a what was it? The Legion of Superheroes
Mhm.
randomly signed by Mark
Signed by
Waid that
Mark
we
Wade.
just
Yeah, that was cool.
we just we
Well, my
traded.
favorite my favorite thing you ever gave me is we're way off topic at this point. It was an Action Comics, and it was Mark Wade's first Superman story, and it was a backup
Yeah.
issue, and he has it autographed, and I'm waiting to get that framed. It's sitting in between my Rogue first appearance and
Oh, nice.
my Lady Thor first appearance. It's just like I'm waiting to put that on the shelf or on the wall. And I think I
Or
found you
get it
Infinite
graded.
Crisis. What's that? No, no.
Or get it graded. I'm kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna
Well,
keep
because
saying
then
that
you
joke.
have to. Well, the problem is like because it's autographed, they have to verify that whether or not that's his
Uh,
signature. It's a whole thing. And I think I got you Infinite Crisis one.
that it
It's
was
the 99 cent
zero.
issue.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the 99 cent issue. It was in Scotland or something. You got it.
yeah. I
Like,
found it in Scotland of all
yeah.
places. I was like,
Because
I
I
found
had
him.
it a long time ago, and I lost it somehow, and then yeah,
I
you got it from me.
I got it in Scotland, stuffed it in between a D&D manual, and just left it in my bag until I got back to the
Nice.
states.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, and I
That was
love
a
that
nerdy
issue too.
sentence.
That was very nerdy. Yeah, D&D manual. That. Oh my goodness.
Well,
Oh
we
man.
should probably get back on topic.
Yeah, no, I won't stay off topic. No, but so Brian, we've heard year one before, and actually multiple
Yeah.
heroes and multiple stories. Can you give me the context of Batman year one, kind of like why it happened?
Yeah, so you mentioned earlier Crisis on Infinite Earths, and that's
Mhm.
going to be an episode that's going to warrant probably like a four-part breakdown because
I
that
have
thing is
PTSD from
it's
that.
yeah. I mean, even rereading it recently, I think I mentioned it's a slog to get through. I don't mean it's bad; it's just it is
Yeah.
dense. So if you don't know, real quick, Crisis on Infinite Earths was DC's attempt to streamline all their books in around 85, 86. They're like it was around that time. They're like, we gotta streamline everything. There's just too many Earths, Earth One, Earth Two, Earth Zero. There's too many Supermen. There's too many Batman. There's too many Wonder Woman. All of it doesn't make sense. There's new continuity. Marvel's over there, and they've got all their continuity lined up. We got to do the same thing. So at this point, DC has like revamped everything. They put it all into one time, but that means they've reset, characters like Wonder Woman and Superman. So they've gone through and they've got like people like John Byrne rewriting Superman's origin, and he's coming to Earth for the first time. They got George Perez doing Wonder Woman, and they realized, well, they've got to finish out that Trinity. We got to finish out that Holy Trinity. So they've got Frank Miller, who's hot off the heels of telling the last story of Batman with the Dark Knight Returns, his Omega, if you will. And they're like, cool. Now's the time to do the alpha of that. And so they bring Frank Miller in to be like, yo, dude, let's go ahead and get this going. And originally, like I said, it was going to be a mini series. And they're like, you know what? I think it was Denny O'Neil runs into him in LA. And he's like, yo, you know what? I think it'd be better if we put this into the actual Batman book. That way it is canon. It is his origin. Of course, as you mentioned, Josh, Batman's origin didn't really need much fixing.
Mm-mm.
It kind of worked from the beginning. Yeah, maybe slightly updated for a modern audience or a modern, story or a timeline, but overall, like, it's pretty simple. His parents got killed. He goes and travels the world, comes back with his education, tries to fight crime. Bat flies through the window. He gets the inspiration. He decides to become Batman.
It's tale as old as time, or even or bat
Bat
tail.
tail is
A
bat
bat tail
tail.
is old as time. And I'm glad they did it that way because Batman's origin is already pretty much prepackaged, and it kind of shows how almost every Batman movie you see his origin. I think it's
Yeah,
kind of gotten ingrained into the
yeah,
pop culture psyche. It's what Spider-Man, Batman, and Superman. Everybody
yeah.
knows those three origins because
Mhm.
they've been shown to us so many times. The
The
pearls,
pearls. Yep,
the Joe Chill,
yeah.
the movie. It always it changed. The movie changes though a lot during the different origins. Usually, it's of course it's a Mask of Zorro, but we've seen it be an opera. We've seen it
Yep,
be um, a different type of movie.
yep.
One of the did you ever see that Teen Titans Go movie?
No,
Like go to the movies. That
no.
one, it's surprisingly very funny and very nerdy. If you want
I'm not
something
saying it's
fun,
not good. I'm just
yeah,
saying no, I have not.
no, they
When my
they
kid
do
gets to that,
something.
maybe we will.
I think you get a kick out of it for sure. Bo would get a kick out of this movie. It's um, this is gonna sound bad from like a 39-year-old saying this, but it's very funny, like kid humor.
There's nothing
So
wrong with that.
I just put myself out there really, really well. But
Nothing wrong with that.
they do something messed up with that origin too. So it's always it's just very ingrained, and I think it's good to have it massaged, kind of like we were saying, where Frank Millerized, if that makes sense. It's
Well,
it's Miller
so
time.
it's Miller time. Well, speaking of Miller, let's talk about the creative team.
Yeah,
You want to tackle Frank Miller for us?
I would love to tackle Frank Miller. Any comic and any comic book fan knows the name Frank Miller. He's one of the most influential writers and artists actually too in the business, and he's really big starting in the 80s and the 90s. He's responsible for helping like redefine a lot of characters, like we said, Batman, especially Dark Knight and Dark Knight Returns, and also Daredevil. His Daredevil
Mm-hmm.
is a seminal Daredevil storyline, but also he wrote books for Elektra, Wolverine. The Wolverine book was really good, which we did in the old Alpha
Yeah, he drew that book
book.
with
So
Chris Claremont
yeah,
writing. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and then Ronin, Sin City, 300, and base. I mean, I just said a bunch of titles that we could do episodes on,
Yeah,
and
every single one of these books could warrant their own episode.
right, and just like all his other, all a lot of the other creators that we've been talking about, he's kind of very outspoken. He's very
Outspoken.
outspoken. Yeah,
Yes.
outspoken, dorky. He's outspoken. I did it again. He's
Wow.
very outspoken, and he's kind of known more for his libertarian views. Do you know the
Yeah.
story behind RoboCop? He
Please
wrote
tell me.
RoboCop. No, he
RoboCop
wrote
2, wasn't it? RoboCop 2, right?
RoboCop. Yeah, two or one of those, but
2 and 3. I think 2 and 3 is what he
oh, yeah,
wrote. 2 and
and
3.
he
Yeah.
hated it. So he hated what they did with the movie so much that he went out to write something that would never be made into a movie, and that was Sin City.
Oh,
Like
interesting.
wrote something, he tried to write something crazy, so crazy that they wouldn't put it to film, and that was Sin City.
Sounds like Brian K. Vaughan in Saga. Like, he did
Mhm.
Saga to be like, this will never get filmed because of all the hassle he had trying to get, like, Why the Last Man going or whatever. And, like, which now it's like you look at Saga, it's like, especially what they do with CGI, I was like, they could make that into a show or a
Oh,
movie
for
or
sure.
whatever.
I think it would
Yeah.
be Saga would be a great TV show.
Saga's a great book.
You know a little bit more about Frank Miller's kind of past as
Yeah.
well too, like more of a deep dive
Yeah.
in that.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of known, like I said, he infuses his art with both manga and like kind of like film noir. As you said, he's kind of an outspoken creator. He's been accused of being conservative, and you can see a little bit of that conservative leanings. Although he doesn't identify that, he does identify as libertarian. Take that as you will. Um, you definitely see how his own like past has influenced his books. I believe, you see this specifically in books like Daredevil, where he was mugged in New York twice, literally had a knife shoved in his face. And he's like, it resulted in him being like, yeah, after having that, I love this city and I love what it is, but man, I'm eager. He literally quoted said, eager to see criminals shot on sight, after being mugged. And it's like, that had a profound effect on him, and it definitely influenced his book with like Daredevil. You see a little grittier atmosphere to those books. In terms of art and style, he adopted sort of a minimalist style. He's the one who's kind of, I don't know if he's responsible, but a lot of people attributed him to, how like a lot of books in the 70s and the early 80s had like thought bubbles and the characters thinking to themselves. He kind of did away with that. He slowly kind of, relied more on like a almost like an omnipresent like narrator kind of telling the story, or like Ben Urich kind of like talk, like would be writing as a news article or whatever, like telling what's been going on. um he also favors expressionism over realism. He draws the city at very claustrophobic angles, like through a stairwell or through the rain, so it's like it's much more like he very much more film style. And he even says like a lot of like his influences came from like samurai comics from the 70s, most specifically like the book Lone Wolf and Cub, which we've kind of referenced before in the past. In fact, the first 12 issues that came to America through First Publishing, he not only drew the covers for them, but he also wrote like the introductions to those issues. So it's like, yeah, he's got a little bit of an interesting past, but there's no denying um how influential he is to American comic books, and specifically superhero comics,
And superhero movies too, with the Spirit.
Yeah, I mean that's Sin City. I never saw The Spirit, but if you've
And
seen it, you can speak to
not
that more than
missing
I
anything.
can.
It's known as one of the worst movies ever made. He was
That's
a director on that. It was him
I
trying to
know.
do Robert Rodriguez. It was,
Well,
yeah,
because
it's
he
just, yeah,
co-directed Sin City with Rodriguez. I don't.
yeah. With Frank Miller's writing, you have David Mazzucchelli doing the artistry on this book, and I mean, he doesn't. If you look back at his work comparatively, he hasn't done a lot of actual comic book work.
No. Yeah, Mazzucchelli, well, originally Miller was supposed to do the art on the book. He's like, I just don't want to do that. I want to concentrate on writing the thing. And he had worked previously with Mazzucchelli. Miller had worked previously with Mazzucchelli on Daredevil. Mazzucchelli's biggest run of comics is on Daredevil, and then him and Miller worked together on the final arc that they did together, which was Born Again, which we've talked about, and I absolutely love that arc. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
he worked on Daredevil from about 204 with a few dropouts over there, but basically 204 to about 232, or I want to say. That's his longest run. Other than that, like he does an issue here or there. He did like an issue of X Factor. He did an issue of like Bill and Ted's of all things.
I was gonna
Like
say
he did.
Bill and Ted. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He's not he's his actual comic book like superhero work is really minimal, with the exception of, like I said, some of the Daredevil stuff and Batman Year One. From what I understand, from what I read, he just really was never into superheroes. And like I said, outside of a few issues here and there and a few covers, he was just like, I'm kind of done after Batman Year One. Um, I will say though, I know he became a teacher. He did put out a giant graphic novel in 2009 called Astro's Polyp. This is something Blair Butler had recommended to me back in the day over at G4 in the old Attack of the Show. And if you can find a copy of it, I highly recommend you read it. I believe it won the Eisner, or at least won a couple of awards. It is absolutely a breathtaking piece of work. This is a master craftsman at the top. I don't say at the top of their game, but just firing on all cylinders. Apparently, he spent 10 years making this, from what I read. It
Mhm.
is without a doubt just one of the best pieces of fiction I've ever read, and especially in the comic book medium.
I'll
A
have to check that out.
masterclass.
Yeah,
It's
I'll check that
absolutely
out.
worth it.
Sounds like a labor of love.
It
Like one
is.
of the, got
It's
to get it out.
absolutely. It's Astro's Polyp. Like I said, it's like usually the trades are at $50 for the hardcover, but I'm sure you can find it cheaper for like 20, 25 if you look around for like a used copy. Um,
Well, hopefully
it's
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 on
wonderful.
digital.
Yeah, it's absolutely wonderful though. So yeah, that's kind of the creative team behind it. You had briefly mentioned the colorist on the book, and I believe it was it Richmond Lewis, and you're right. Like the colorist on that book is they're fantastic. The colors are
Mhm.
fantastic. They're muted where they need to be, and it's because they knew that this was going to be printed on newsprint in single form, and so they colored it knowing how it was going to look on newsprint. Which is why
Mhm.
it's funny when you see the absolute editions of this book, it's two versions of the same book are released where it's like, oh, this is how it would have looked on newsprint, and then this has been recolored with the thousand colors because originally I think newsprint you only had like 60 colors that you could draw from. So I
Mhm.
think it's really neat that how this looks.
No, and no, and going with that though too. I think what I like about the coloring, and then what I like about the writing and the
Mhm.
art, everything is very. It's I'm going to call it deeply simplistic. So it's
Yes.
like a layered simplicity
Yes.
that it really works for this book. The
Yep.
story is not outlandish. There's no
Nope.
supervillains.
Nope.
The very closest thing to supervillain is Batman himself or uh, the Catwoman,
Yeah.
and then the artistry is very um, clean and simplistic as well. It's not there's not these huge colorful splash pages or anything.
No.
It's more it's it goes to what how Gotham was at that time, which is a little bit dark and gritty and
Mhm.
just bare bones. It gives you a lot without needing to show you a lot. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Like, you don't get any bizarre angles. So everything is very cut, like, very, very clean in terms of like the angles of like the paneling is very clean. The coloring and the art reminds me of a sort of a mix of Francisco Francavilla mixed with like a Steve Lieber, if that makes any sense.
Hmm.
It's got that Gotham Central. We talked about how clean Gotham Central was. People are big, but they're not like bulky. They're wearing suits that are
Yeah.
disheveled. It has that feel and look. And like I said, by bringing up Francisco Francavilla, because it has that kind of weird, like red, orange, black kind of feel to the coloring,
Hmm.
that kind of just permeates through the issues. But
Like a warm lens, a warm
yes,
lens on it.
yes, almost like neon infused in a weird
Hmm.
way, like that. The way you'd see neon in New York City with the rain falling or
Hmm.
something like that. That's kind of how the impression I got, at least when I read it. You know what I mean? Whether that was intentional or not, or I'm just making it up, is beside the point. But that's
I bet it's
the
like it's one of those where they're just like, yeah, sure, that's what we were going for.
yeah, totally. Uh huh. Yeah. I had that happen once in a writing class. We were like talking to the writer about this thing. Da, da, da. He's like, no, but I'm gonna use that from now on. We're like, God,
Yeah.
we totally overanalyze. Like,
Yeah.
that sounds
Like,
great to me. I'm gonna
sure.
use that. Like,
That
okay,
sounds great. Yeah, sure. That's perfect. And then,
yeah,
but with this book too, when I was reading it, and every time I read it, what I kind of think of it is as like a really well done independent movie.
yes,
It has that bare bones quality to it, and it's just it seems like it's one of those like Fox Searchlight uh, well done independent movies about Batman.
yeah. I mean, like, I think that was the beauty of it is that it is just a simple like anybody who, even if you don't know who Batman is, you can approach this and get into it because essentially it's two main characters. It's Batman and Gordon, you know. But well, let's get into it then. How about that? Let's start off with
Let's
like the
get
first issue.
into it.
Yeah,
Yeah. So we're gonna break down. So with this first issue, you mentioned you've talked we've talked about this before, but something with Batman Year One does with the opening pages of each issue is they kind of do like a simple open, right? It's
yeah.
like
Almost
something
like you could go almost
that
a
people
title
don't.
crawl or it's like what they do in modern comics now. Where like you know I mean, I guess I did technically, in the old day, like Stanley Presents, but it was very simple. Like, for the first issue, it just opens with like a static image, and it's just like he will become the greatest crime fighter the world has ever known. It won't be easy. Chapter one: Who I am, how I come to be, or came to be you know, and
Mhm.
you're like, bam, into it. You know what I mean? And as we said, like this isn't much of a change from his original origin that Bill Finger and Bob Kane did back in the 30s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's Batman comes back to town, or Bruce Wayne comes back to town, after being gone in Europe and is essentially training to become Batman for the last 10 years. And not only do we have Batman coming to town, we have James Gordon, Lieutenant Gordon, who is transferring in from Chicago PD.
I love this beginning too because it's the juxtaposition of how each person gets into Gotham. You have Gordon coming in through the train. It's
Mhm.
packed. It's hot. He's uncomfortable, and then you have Bruce coming through his private jet, just
Surrounded by
flying in,
paparazzos.
paparazzi. And what was great too, which is a really good um, detail that I think it might have been Frank Miller's idea, but the inner thought, or the inner monologue and how it's written. Bruce is a
Yes.
very elegant cursive writing. It's
Hmm.
nice. It's aristocratic. And
Yeah.
then Gordon is just like it's like a detective taking notes on a yellow pad. It's in that noir kind of feeling with both of them. It just kind of shows the another juxtaposition of how the characters are.
And then, it's really funny you should mention that is one thing that you can do in comics that you can't almost do anywhere else is the narrator. Like you
Mhm.
don't know, you could, it's like, oh, we know this is Bruce and we know this is Gordon just based on the font size, but sometimes you can have a narrator narrating an entire issue and then realize, oh, the whole time I thought this was Dick Grayson. Turns out it was Deathstroke narrating the whole episode or the whole issue. Well, you can't do that in any other medium, like because you'll hear the voice and the voice will give it away. That's one of the things I think is really kind of fun about comic books. But that's
Yeah.
that's a discussion for
And
another time.
no, it's fun. It's fun part of the visual medium that we all love.
Yeah.
Now, the city that both our men of justice are going into is really a town kind of choked with corruption and crime. It's the Gotham kind of that everybody knows before all of the crazy serial killer supervillains.
Yes, the villains.
Yeah, the villains, all the villains. But it's more of just the underground of Gotham. So a lot like that the Batman movie or um, even Batman Begins. It's he's fighting the mob, not the Joker,
Yep.
which is
Yeah.
both a little bit more scary because they're more organized.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like you said, this is a town choked by corruption and crime. So you have not only just the mafia, you also have the cops that are just as in bed with these guys. And it's like, how do you save a city when it's like its foundation is already rotting? You know what I mean? What's really fun about this first issue is you never, even on the cover, you never see Batman. This is
Mhm.
Bruce Wayne, and he's like, okay, I got all these skills. I'm gonna go Travis Bickle taxi driver and get into fights with people and like literally just he's not ready for it yet. He doesn't realize like, it's like I'm gonna, he gets into a fight with a pimp and guess what? He thinks he's helping these prostitutes. They stab him in the leg and then the cops show up and they shoot him in the arm. Then he gets arrested. And you're just like, dude, you suck. you
Yeah,
know?
all that. I would be so frustrated. He's like, really, all this 10 years, and I get stabbed by this little prostitute in my leg out
Yeah,
of
I
nowhere.
think he makes the joke. He's like, it's almost over before it started. You know what I mean? He's like got a little
Yeah,
scar patch that he
they
put
put
on
it in there.
himself.
Goodness.
He like set up an alibi that he's got like, oh yeah, I'll be seen going into this hotel with a starlet and I'm gonna jump into this car. And like he's like thinking he's like, I'm gonna, no one's gonna know it's me, you know?
Right. His eyes were bigger than his stomach at the very first.
Yeah.
It's like he's getting into college and that was his first class.
Yeah.
And he was just overwhelmed.
And then we also get our first introduction to Selena Kyle, who in this version of the continuity is a prostitute at this point. It's a slight kind of retcon to her origins.
Mhm.
Like I said, Frank Miller is, he's obviously been affected by New York City and the corruption of New York City itself. So, of course he's going to have, Selena Kyle be a prostitute, which I do think they retconned eventually. Like they said, oh, she was undercover as a prostitute or something like that. It is interesting though that like, like literally in the Detective Comics that like kind of preceded Batman Year One, you see her in the purple and the green cape
Oh
and the
yeah.
whip, and then it's like immediately like, oh, she's a prostitute. I was like, all right, well, that's a choice. She does kick ass, and like she almost kicks Batman's ass. Like he literally has to like slug her in the face. It's like, oh, Batman has no
Right.
compunction about hitting women.
these hands of justice are for they see no gender. They're
Exactly.
one size fits all.
Yeah.
Um, Now, with
Um.
on the Gordon side, though,
Mhm.
we kind of meet the corruption of the GCPD, which is completely different from the Gotham Central book that we had covered in our first issue. But we meet Detective Flass. What
Ex-Green
they don't like
Beret.
falafel? Yeah, they don't like falafel. That's
Yeah.
from that's the same character in Batman Begins. And I love the scene where he gets in a fight with Flash because he had gotten jumped before from Flash and everybody because he wasn't taking bribes, or he was uncorruptible. So they're like, you know what, let's
Teaches
teach
you
him
a
a
lesson.
lesson.
Yeah. And he takes that bat and he fucks up Flash with it.
I think he's like, I haven't taken down a Green Beret in a while. I might as well give him a handicap. And he tosses him a bat. That's after getting beat up. So that shows you right away how badass Gordon is.
Yeah.
And he's he's more ready for Gotham than
Yeah.
Bruce is.
Absolutely. That is a good way of looking at it. That's really funny. Of course, Bruce does, as we mentioned, he does get arrested after getting shot by the cops, but he is able to escape and eventually get back to his house or the mansion where we kind of get a quick flash of the death of the Waynes. And then we get the bat because he's like realizing, like, I can't go out dressed up in a fucking army jacket. I got to do something else, which leads to the bat flying through the window, shattering and giving him the inspiration, leading to, of course, Batman, you know. As I mentioned earlier, like we never see him in the bat suit at all in this issue. It's not on the cover. It's just that stone image or that image of, poor little baby Bruce Wayne in the hall, the crime alley with the kid, the parents dead right there. Um, it's interesting. Like, and if you think about it, like all Batman covers up to this point were always like some kind of sensational, Batman fighting against some villains over a death
Yeah.
trap or some wild scheme. So this was like real stark and just like, oh, this is a serious book for a serious audience. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was a different way of selling the book because that whole death trap and stuff is a great marketing right away on the cover to get you to buy the book. And this is something completely different and more intriguing in some cases.
Yeah, well, it was catering to a different audience. I mean, this is the thing. Like, you got to remember, like a year before Dark Knight Returns comes out, and like this made headlines, like in adult, in newspapers and stuff like that. So they were appealing to a new audience. They were like, we know we've got the kids. Let's appeal to a mature audience with this, and that's exactly what they did.
Mhm.
Of course, leads us into issue 2, Batman 405. You want to take the little blurb
I'll,
that starts off the issue?
I'll do the blurb at the beginning of the book. Uh, he was trained and planned and waited 18 years. He thinks he's ready. Chapter 2, War is declared.
That's right, man. And he's got the bat suit and he's on the loose now and he's going to kick some ass. Almost.
Yeah, almost. He's taking names, and his little baby Batman is out there trying to fight some of the corruption. And it's the corruption is so deep rooted. It's in the commissioner of the
Yeah.
police too,
Commissioner Loeb.
Commissioner Loeb, he's done differently too. A lot of different books.
Yeah.
He's either just the hard nosed commissioner who just doesn't like vigilantes, or he's the super corrupt
Yeah.
commissioner, or he's just kind of the bumbling commissioner. So it's
Yeah.
this one is the corrupt version.
Yeah. Um, I really do love the scene. There's a scene early in the book where Batman takes on a bunch of thieves that are trying to climb in through a fire escape to like jack a TV or something like that. And he has to fight these three idiots, for lack of a better word, on the fire escape. And one of them like falls off. So he's like, can't let someone die. So he's like trying to hold the guy from falling to his death while trying to fend off these other two guys that are just messing him up. I
Yeah,
love
it's
like
like
the compactness of us all. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's a small bottle episode or just first
Yeah.
scenes right there. Yeah, and it's completely like, guy, I'm trying to help your friend right now. Stop hitting me.
Stop hitting me. But it's kind of like you kind of your point, when you're talking about like there's no villains in this book. I mean, the biggest villain is almost Batman himself, and since he's almost his own worst enemy in a weird way. You know what I mean? He's not
Yeah.
ready just yet. His suit doesn't even really fit very well. It's still not like compact and tight. It's kind of loose on him. Um it's just fun. It's fun to like see like the action kind of really zoomed in on just like a brief moment right there.
And
Um
also at this point too, we're used to seeing Batman be just prepared and great at everything. So it's good
yeah,
to see how he became that way. Like he learned
yeah,
from his mistakes and his lessons become more prepared for any
Yeah.
situation because he's lived through all those situations.
The other thing we see is Gordon quickly becoming like a media darling. Like, the press love him. The city loves him. He's got heroic rescues, walking into a hostage situation, leaving his gun behind, and he's like showing up all the corrupt cops, and they are not happy about this. You know?
Yeah, and it's even worse when he's the one honest cop in the force.
Yeah.
And he also has little baby on the way at home too with his pregnant wife,
Yep.
with Jim Gordon Jr., who he
Yeah.
becomes much more of a serious character down the line and batshit
Read Black.
crazy.
Yeah, we'll read Black Mirror later. We'll save that. Speaking of Francisco Francavilla, we'll save that one for another time.
Yeah.
That is a genuinely, real quick off top, that is a genuinely scary run of issues.
Hmm.
Like, Batman isn't typically like a horrifying comic. Those issues were horrifying. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, yeah. It's also funny we
Uh,
should mention that. Oh, go ahead.
just how sociopathic he is
Yeah, exactly.
from being
Also
from
worth
Gordon.
noting that I was going to say that Barbara Gordon, even though she is Commissioner Gordon's daughter in most continuity, in this time, in this continuity, at least at this moment, Gordon, we never see Barbara, but well, we see the wife's name is Barbara. We never see Barbara Gordon, Batgirl, even referenced, but she would be his niece in this continuity. She wasn't his daughter; she was his adopted daughter until they retcon that later on down the line. But in this
Yeah.
continuity, she would be his niece. And Barbara, his wife, only had Jim Gordon Jr.
Yeah. Okay. That's so the one he does have becomes a serial killer. That's
Yeah.
great.
Well, it's
Um,
because he's not the best husband,
no,
as
he's
we're
not,
gonna get
which we see
into
in this one.
shortly.
But also in this issue, Gordon is given a task force to hunt down Batman, and but with that, he kind of starts to question: Is Batman really that bad? Is he bad for the corrupted cops that I'm working with, or is he actually bad, for the
The
city?
city, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think
And
what kind of changes all that is, like, there's like an out of control truck or something like that, and Batman risks his life to save a homeless person, and
right,
that's where Gordon's just like, "Wait a minute, am I wrong?" It was like, "Are
yeah.
we the baddies?"
Are we the baddies? Yeah. And also, this is where they kind of hunt down Batman and pin him down
Yeah.
into this abandoned building.
Well, because yeah, at that point, his partner gets him, like, he has him at gunpoint, and like Batman like
Right.
f's her up, but at that point, she's called in backup, and guess what? All the corrupt cops are like, "Yo, this guy's trying to f us up," and they send basically the military or the SWAT team or whatever, the
Yeah.
TAC units, and it becomes like, it ends with him going into this abandoned building, right? Like, he gets shot,
Yeah.
goes into the abandoned building, and they're just like, "Okay, get ready to drop a bomb on it. We don't care if there's homeless people in there. We're
Literally.
gonna." Yeah, they literally do. They're like ready to drop a bomb on it.
Right.
Um,
And so that cop though that kind of tricks him, Batman in a way, is also very interesting because that's his Gordon's partner Essen.
mhm.
Essen? Is
Yeah,
that how
I'd
you
say
say it in
Essen.
your head?
That's what I would have said.
Essen?
Essen. That's my
Yeah.
headcanon.
Her and Gordon get a little bit too close during the we're working long hours and together on these cases.
Sharing cigarettes and little coffee and pie after work, and next thing you know, "Oh, I love you. You're such a great partner."
All
And
right.
yeah.
And now we're making out under the door stoop,
Yeah,
the
it's
the
door stoop,
doorway,
man, in the
door
rain.
stoop when it's raining.
Yeah. And
So that
meanwhile,
was
he's got a pregnant wife back home. So it's like, Gordon, for all of his heroism and good guy, he's still just a dude.
yeah, I think that's what Frank Miller does a lot too. He's like, no, nobody is pure
Yeah.
with this stuff, and that's especially Gordon, who's usually he's stopped Batman from being to going crossing the line or being corruptible. So
Yeah.
it's another side of Gordon that I don't think we've seen before.
No, I think that was new there, and I think they even pulled back on it after the fact. It was just like, you needed to, like you said, he had to have some kind of corruption, because it does lead into later on,
Mhm.
um, into the story, in which we'll get into that. But the issue basically ends with Batman trapped in this building with like the SWAT team coming in, and they're coming in hot to kill. They are going to
Yeah,
kill him. They're not there to
yeah,
capture or arrest or anything. They are there to just take his ass out.
Mostly because too they're getting that order from Commissioner Loeb, so
Yep.
it's the corrupted Commissioner Loeb. This goes into issue 3, and we start
Mhm.
with they've got him cornered, they got him outnumbered, they got him trapped. They're in trouble. Chapter 3, Black Dawn. It's a you're. I'm not here with you. You're here with
You're here with
me.
me. Yeah, it's literally that. Well, it's a little less of that, but it is that, and
Yeah,
I genuinely, and that's only half the issue, but the first half it is literally Batman like, oh shit, my utility belt's busted. I've got like three little stun darts. That's it. And I've got like
right.
20 or 30 cops in here with, semi-automatic weapons looking to kill me. And it's him like using like, okay, here's a trap door right here. If I go down and I'm cornered, I'm gonna hide in the chimney and make them think I went in the trap door. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's him using the building to his advantage to slowly take these guys out and eventually escape. I absolutely love that kind of stuff. Like you're a big proponent of
yeah,
it as well, where it's like characters backed into a corner, has nothing left. How do they get out? Using their wits to find a way out.
yeah. It's really them being broken down to the very base, and then how the character shines without the fancy utility belt or the fancy suit or anything, and just the what's the best way to it's not adrenaline, but the heart pumping kind of
Yeah,
situation. Like
yeah,
he's trapped, he has nothing he can do except try try to karate chop some guys
yeah.
with some semi-automatic weapons.
Yep. Well, it's like I said, he uses all of his wetted weapons he does have effectively. I mean, he uses like the cat that's in the building to like kind of like
Right,
distract, and eventually he does pull like one little knickknack out of his boot, which is like a hypersonic pulse that brings all of the bats from the Batcave in to
right.
like cloud everything up, so he's able to escape on a motorcycle and flee the scene.
And
Of course, like I
this,
said, he go ahead.
oh, I'm sorry, and this book too was before Sin City, so it's kind of a precursor to that famous Marv scene in the beginning of Sin City where he's fighting all the cops to get out of that building,
Or Dread or the Raid or
or the raid, or that what is it, that it was a Civil War issue for New Avengers. It was
uh
Luke Cage, because
no.
it was like 1201 on the Stanford Act, and
Yeah.
they knock on his door. He's like, I couldn't even get 1 minute. Like, this is
Yeah.
crazy, and he
Yeah.
busts through all these shield agents in a building.
So much fun. So much fun. But yeah, it ends with base. He doesn't manage to escape, but of course he is busted up. And at this point, Gordon, who has now cheated on his wife officially, um, suspects that Bruce Wayne is Batman. He's like, he's the only person who has the money, who has the ability, and kind of lines up with him coming back to the city. He's pretty certain at this point that Bruce is Bats. And Bruce Wayne is like trying to cover his tracks, like, oh yeah, I had a skiing accident out in the Swiss Alps. That's why I have to walk with a cane or whatever it is.
What's that famous thing? It was apple cider, not champagne.
Yeah, yeah,
And then he's like, we had even people at the Swedish ski resort impersonating me. They
yeah,
love to
yeah.
do it.
They would love to do it. Like, oh yeah, and as long as I take a picture with them later, or whatever, they'll be happy.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, it's fun. It's a fun issue. We also do see Catwoman finally don her kind of classic version, not the the purple and green cape costume, but the what was we know as the modern traditional version with the cat ears and the tail and the gray, kind of like skin tight suit as well. So that's also what we see in this issue. She's like she's kind of a tangential part to all of this. She's not a
Hmm.
huge impact, but she does kind of play a part in all the story. Of course, this
I
all
think
leads in going. But
you could say it's the third side of Gotham. We have the police, we have Batman, and then we have the
criminal.
actual people inside Gotham.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. She's also a criminal. I mean, she's a cat burglar,
Yeah.
but it's the thing is the hero with the heart. She's like heart of gold. You know what I mean? She's still protecting her girls and all that. Um, that of course leads into the final issue, Batman 407, which opens with a great. He's out to clean a city that likes being dirty. He can't do it alone. Chapter 4, a friend in need. And this
Well,
is that was
clean up a city that likes being dirty.
it's
Goodness
so
gracious.
it's totally Miller, dude. Totally
It's
Frank Miller.
amazing.
Yeah, and this is basically about how Gordon and Batman essentially become friends. This is their at least their working friendship, in the beginning of their working friendship. Gordon's affair has continued even though both him and his partner know they need to break it off. She's like, yo, if you weren't married to her, would you be with me? Don't answer that question. I'm leaving for Metropolis. Basically is how it kind of ends. She's like, I'm not messing with that. And meanwhile, there's an informant who has all the dirt and the evidence on all the corrupt cops. And the cops are trying to shut his ass up because that's bad for them.
Who's the informant talking to though? There's a pretty important character, right?
Is it some guy he had two no, who was that? It was Harvey Dent.
Harvey Dent.
Harvey. I love that when Loeb like pulls Gordon aside and is like, yo, you either need to stop this shit, like with the investigation into us, or we're gonna tell your wife about that little affair that you had right there. And he's got the pictures and everything like that. And I love that Gordon makes the hard call. He's like, all right, honey, I got some bad news for you. Let me tell you what's been going on behind your back while you've been pregnant.
Yeah. So this is, he takes the bullet out of their gun.
Yeah, he does. Which that forces them to put a bigger bullet into the gun, but we'll get into that.
Yeah,
I do love that they were like, okay, hey, they call her and she's like, yeah, I know, don't call her again.
Right.
Like took the wind out of your sails,
bro. It's old news, bro. I already know. And guess what? I already had a son. Gordon's son is born.
Yeah,
James
James Gordon Jr. This, of course, like I said, since they took the wind out of their sails, they decide to team up with the mafia and basically kidnap his kid and kidnap his wife. And this leads to Batman having to help Gordon out in this situation, save the kid. And they
catches him in mud and stuff.
Yeah, they throw more. He basically gets thrown over the side of a bridge, and Batman jumps and captures him, and like he loses. It's like he's not wearing the mask, and Gordon's like, "I can't see who you are anyway. I've lost my glasses, but thank you for your help." Basically,
how convenient.
Yeah, how convenient. I love that he clocked it initially. He's like, "Yeah, it's got to be Bruce Wayne. It's Bruce Wayne." Yeah, I don't know if I believe him. Right. When he said, it's like he's like, yeah, it's Bruce Wayne.
Right. Where it's kind of how long has he known, or does he just take the blind eye? Throughout their career.
There's an issue. I think it's during No Man's Land where like when Batman disappears for a while and it's just the cops and Gordon trying to save the city. And at one point, like, it's like Gordon's like, how can I trust you anymore? Like, you left us. And Bruce pulls the mask off and says, well, this is who I am. And Gordon's like, don't. I don't want to look. I don't want to know. Basically, I want plausible deniability. He's like, I already may know, but I'm not going to look right now because like I need plausible deniability. But it's a great issue. But I digress. Anyway, the book ends with the guy going to trial or and becoming an informant after some shenanigans with him. And boy, howdy, does it send shockwaves through Gotham PD as Commissioner retires in disgrace. Gordon gets promoted to lieutenant. What happens after that? Captain, sorry, thank you. Yeah, Lieutenant Gordon becomes captain. Thank you. Sorry.
And then he has a meeting with Batman, and he shows a new criminal in town with a calling card and
some Joker,
a specific calling card. It is the Joker. How'd you know? Yeah, it's the Joker.
Which I love that they kind of mirror that scene directly in Batman Begins. Like, he left his calling card,
Well, there's a couple of things that they mirrored in the Christopher Nolan stuff. That they did that swarm of bats, to get him out of the situation, and then Catwoman in Rises kind of paralleled a lot from Batman Year One. So not necessarily the prostitute part, but having her. The girls that she looked at, like Juno Temple, I think was the one that she looked after, who's kind of that character from
Holly or whatever.
Yeah, Holly, from Batman Year One. And so Nolan definitely took some not liberties, but just took some inspirations from Batman Year One.
I mean, we'll get into impressions in a second. One of the things you wrote in the notes, and I'd like to discuss this a little bit more, was you wrote that this is as much a Jim Gordon Year One story as it is a Batman story. And I thought about that for a little bit, and I actually kind of say I'd almost argue that I'd say this is almost more of a Jim Gordon story than a Batman story. It is Batman Year One, but like if you really look at the emotional arc of the characters, like Jim Gordon has the most that happens to him. And I'd almost say if you probably did a scene by scene comparison, he has probably 50% screen time to Batman. You know what I mean?
I think he
Almost.
actually even has more because he's more of the driving character in that moves the plot forward. I think
Yeah,
than
yeah,
Bruce
exactly.
and
Yeah.
Batman.
I mean, and like I said, he has Batman for the most part is a static character throughout this entire thing. I mean, most superheroes are; they have to be. Like, there's slight changes and slight growth, but over the long run, you see a bit of an arc. But most characters have to be the same because by the end of this, you want them to reset. It's like, and so with this Batman, you don't see a lot of growth. Like the most growth is like, I'm depressed because I want to, avenge my parents. Oh, I'm going to wear a bat suit now, and that's kind of like, oh, I'm not as good as I thought I was, and that's kind of the end of his kind of growth. Whereas Gordon's like, I'm going to come here and stop corruption. Do I really want to stop corruption? Do I want to be with my wife? Do I want to be with this woman? I
Right.
mean, like you see, like actual Gordon go through stuff and make decisions and have, like you said, drive the plot forward.
Yeah.
Which kind of,
How am I supposed to stop corruption when I myself am
yeah, yeah,
not
exactly,
morally correct as well?
yeah. Which really begs the question: why have we not gotten a true Gordon book? I know there's been a couple miniseries here, Gordon of Gotham and all of that. There's like two or three miniseries. I know we've got Gotham Central, which he's not even a part of. We got that Joker mini or that Joker series that basically was a backdoor Gordon book. Why can't we just not get a Gordon book, man? Like Gordon
Yeah.
Year One, you know what I mean? Like, why don't
Well,
I
I
mean
mean,
that book? I mean,
I mean that Batman Year One was kind of the Gordon Year One, but I
it's
would
Gordon
love a
Year One.
Gordon Year Two.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe him dealing with it would be great too. Is just a book with him and trying to stop his son, like a
oh
book way
yeah,
back when type of thing, where
yeah.
he not only trying to stop his son, but trying to stop people knowing that that it's his son is doing it. So that
Yeah,
moral ambiguity as well.
yeah, that's cool. That's a good idea.
Let's write it.
Um,
Let's do it.
so you
Done.
got it. Let's do it. We got it done. DC, we're gonna send you a pitch. We'll have it done. Just get us
Yeah.
an artist. We're good. Um, Now, like I said, this book came out in 86, 87. It's arguably what, 30 years old now, essentially. So I can't do
It's
math.
more than 30. It's 39 years old.
Fuck
86, 87.
me.
Yeah. Again,
40
I was born
years.
in 86, so
So it's
it's
basically 40 years
39.
old. We'll say 40 years then.
Let's say
To finish it off.
39.
Let's say
Let's say
40 to
40
finish off.
next year.
Yeah, okay.
Let's say 40 next year.
Where's the continuity of this book? At this point, is it still canon? Is it not?
Right. I don't think it's no longer canon because it was Zero Year,
The
and the
earlier
52 storyline, Zero Year kind of
took
changed
its
a
place,
lot, but
supplanted it,
yeah,
basically.
supplanted it. But it does incorporate elements of it,
Yeah,
because I mean, it's kind of like what Miller did to Batman's origin, and massaged it a little bit more to change it a little bit.
yeah. If it is updated for the modern audience and all that, although they kind of incorporate a lot more villains with like, what is it, Riddler? I think it's the big one in Zero Year
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah, unfortunately, as great as this book is, it's been removed from continuity. It's only canon, I guess, like in the Miller verse of Batman, which includes, this is some great stuff. We've got Dark Knight Returns,
Mhm.
Dark Knight Master Race, Dark Knight Strikes Back. I think Superman Year One is technically considered part of the Millerverse of Batman.
Ugh. Ugh.
All Star Batman and Robin. So we know
Ugh.
these are all, yeah. Some of those are good, and some of them are
Hmm.
not. We'll just leave it at that. That all said,
Yeah.
what is your general impressions about the book? What did you think about this book overall?
I love this book because it's like I said, it's an independent movie done very well.
Yeah,
It's it's it supplants a lot of stuff that you thought about Batman's origin, and it kind of changes the way you look at not only Bruce but also Jim Gordon,
yeah,
and changes a lot of that thought process of how not it changes a lot of how you consider each character
yeah,
and how badass Gordon is and how he can be on that same level as Batman and why he earns Batman's respect and vice
yeah,
versa.
yeah. It's pretty damn good. There's a reason this gets reprinted all the time. There's a reason people kind of,
It's 4 issues, and it's so impactful. It's 4 issues.
it's so 4 issues and 4 issues done well. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like they're humdingers, humdingers. I mean, here's the thing: it's so good that like it created a whole genre within, or at least like a maybe not genre is the word for it, but a storytelling device within the DC universe. They literally created the whole year one concept. We see this literally in almost all the DC books. Like they've done miniseries like JLA year one or Green Arrow year one, or in the Flash book, it was like literally. I know they did like literally Flash. Year one is like Flash 62 through 65. It was so much they did like two or three Flash year ones. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
post
Yeah.
zero the 0 hour event, which was like the 95 big event where they redid all the continuity again post
Right.
crisis. They created, I think it was the 95 annuals for all the major superhero books. They were all titled year one books. You know what I mean? Like it literally created a whole storytelling device, like to the point where Marvel doesn't even call any of them as year ones because it's so clearly DC's like bread and butter.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which kind of begs the question of like, why do these year one? Why do they work so well? And I think you kind of raised that question or that answer earlier, which was it's like we like seeing them not at 100% sometimes, like learning the
Hmm.
the ropes and all that, right?
Yeah, and I think it's fun to see other writers and artists take it to a more modern origin.
Yeah,
It makes it more palatable
yeah,
to current readers too, and it helps bring in new readers to these books and to these characters, which I think is
absolutely.
what everybody wants. Like JLA Year One, I think is a masterclass of as well. Mark Waid's,
Mark Waid, Barry Kitson, Bragan Augustine. It's
yeah,
excellent,
it's
excellent book.
very so good, and it's a book that does not have Superman or Batman or Wonder Woman.
Well, as main characters, they're there,
Yeah,
but they're as main characters. Well,
yeah,
that's because well, the sad part is they had to uncanonize that one too, because this was
right,
also the one where originally Wonder Woman was a member of the JLA, but then when they retconned everything post crisis, she doesn't come to man's world until she leaves Paradise Island. So she couldn't have been a part of the Justice League. So they retconned it.
right.
So it was Black Canary that was a part
Black
of
Canary.
yeah. And then they're like, "Ah, just kidding. She was always here." And so it sucks that, it's like I get it. I understand why they do it, but man, I love that JLA miniseries. It's
Me
so
too.
good. It's
It
so good.
was another one of my first like trades as well. So
Same.
it's very
Yeah.
good. And
Yeah.
but in why else do year one stories work? I think the not only just the origin is more modernized, but just the books themselves become more modern.
Uh-huh.
It's like why Ultimate
Ultimate
lines or
Spider-Man.
this or even absolute these
Yeah.
absolute lines are doing so well is because it's another look, but it's also another uh modernization of very old characters that
Yeah.
makes it a better read.
Yeah. Well, I was to say, I love, and I know we have a tendency to be, use the hashtag or not hashtag, but the trademark, because
Hashtag.
Bendis. But because
Yeah.
Bendis, like, but it's like ultimately not ultimate, but like Ultimate Spider-Man by Bendis is fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Fantastic. It's like
Oh yeah.
it goes back to the core of the character and is done. It's like gets rid of all the baggage, but still we get to see that just through a modern lens. Um, yeah, but it's like literally like what is it? The first appearance of Spider-Man is 18 pages.
Mhm.
Ultimate Spider-Man, it takes 6 issues to get to that point, I think,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with Batman too, he's not Batman that for full first issue.
That forced issue. Yeah, exactly. Nowadays, it's like, oh, you got to run through, well, 100, whatever. I don't want to get into it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we kind of briefly talked about the impact year one had. Obviously, we see that in things like Batman Begins and all that. Was there anything else we missed on that, or was there any other points you wanted to raise?
Well, I mean, we'll get into it more in year two, but
Oh,
the Timverse Batman Mask of Phantasm
hmm,
kind of touches on some of the origins of Batman
okay.
as well, which is really good. And but it's a little bit more of a year two vibe, so we'll discuss that more
I mean, you
in
could
the year
also
two.
argue some of the Batman, the original Tim Burton Batman as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, for those fans that really like this book or want to kind of continue those adventures, what would you recommend, or do you have any
Yes.
recommendations?
Speaking of year ones, I mean, we're just going to be naming a lot of year ones right now, but one of my favorite ones is the Batgirl and year one and the Robin year one.
Yep.
Robin year one, I think, is one of my other favorite year one books because I think it's Chuck Dixon.
I think it's under Scott
I,
Beatty. I forget. I think it was the other Scott Beatty who wrote that one, but
yeah,
the art is
it's
super good.
this art is very fun and good, and the storylines are very great too. It brings in some villains that we know, and some lesser known villains that Robin can fight, and
Yeah.
it's a fun book. And same thing with Batgirl, year one.
Well, piggybacking on that real quick, it wasn't in the notes, but right now they're doing Batman and Robin year one in DC
Yeah,
Comics right now. I think it's like issue 6 is out of 12. So, kind of talking about like stretching that out. And of course, that's my boy, Mark Wade. So I'm not going to complain. But yeah, I think they're doing Batman and Robin
Mark
year one.
White. Yeah.
Um, I wrote in there, there's a book called Batman Turning Points. If you haven't read it, it's a 5 issue miniseries, and there's only one that you really need to read in it. But it's basically 5 different points in Batman's life. And it's done by people like Greg Rucka and Ed Brubaker. You got people like Steve Lieber doing art. And each one's just like basically like a little one shot of like, okay, this is taking place right in the middle of year one. This is taking place when we first meet Robin. This is taking place when Azrael takes over as Batman. This is taking
Mhm.
um the first issue though takes place during year one, and if you didn't know better, I think I want to say it's Brubaker, but now I'm questioning myself. Oh, now I've got to look it up. I got to look it up. Sorry, we're gonna take 2 seconds to do this.
Looking
Oh,
it up,
go.
music.
So
Looking it
it's
up.
Greg. It's Greg Rucka and
Mm.
Steve Lieber doing the art, and it picks up like pretty much right during that era of Batman year one. You'd almost think that it was just like a missing couple pages or a missing issue from that era. It's really fun. You
Very
also had
nice.
another year one in there, didn't you?
Yeah, we've discussed this. I think on our Gotham Central episode, but Gotham year one, which is good.
Tom
It's
King and Phil
the
Hester, right?
Yeah, Tom King, a good Tom King, which again, like Bendis, it's hit and miss. But
Schrodinger, it's the Schrodinger's cat of writing.
yeah, exactly, yeah. But it's the early how Gotham had become this corrupted city, and with Batman's grandfather.
Yes, it
Yeah,
was Slam Bradley. Well, his get into
yeah,
that.
yeah, that's something for you to read about. Um, and then another one, and if you liked the book, check out the animated movie.
Is it good?
It's okay. I mean, the
Okay.
art style, they try to do the Michelli art style, which is
Mazzucchelli, the Mazzucchelli art
Mazzucchelli.
style.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know why I
yeah,
said Michelli. Sorry,
that's all right.
Mazzucchelli's art style, which it translates okay to,
Okay.
and it's just
Better
something
than
if you.
the Frank Whiteley one for All Star Superman.
Yeah, yeah. The Frank Quietly ones, All Star, they had small faces, and that just freaked me out. So this one in the voice acting is done well. It's in that era of DC movies that everything's kind of just like mediocre. So
Okay.
it's not Tim Verse. It's not gonna blow your mind, but it's something that it's fun to watch.
Okay. The other one I was going to recommend is the Batman, the Batman, the Man Who Laughs. Literally picks up from when Gordon's like, we got this calling card from some idiot named
Mhm.
Joker, and it picks up from there. I believe it's Ed Brubaker who did the story, and it's Doug Menke doing the art on that one. So if you're looking to again continue like that sort of through line from like where this kind of leaves off, that's a
Mhm.
good one to pick up. And the other one I was going to say is Long Halloween, which is basically not Batman Year Two, but like Batman Year 1.5. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
There's a
yeah, and
lot of
they're
it.
doing get the continuation of it right now, or Batman, The
The
Long
third
Halloween
part.
2.
Well,
A third part, excuse me.
it's Batman, The Long Halloween, The Last Halloween.
Gotcha.
It's really hit or miss. I will say Long Halloween is good. Dark Victory is fine, which is the sequel to Long Halloween. There's another follow up, which is Catwoman Win in Rome. And then
Oh, yeah,
from
yeah.
there, which it's whatever. And then this one is the final part. Unfortunately, the artist Tim Sale, who had done all the books with Jeff Loeb up to that point, he recently passed away, and so they have each issue being done by a fill-in artist. Some are fucking great. Like I mean, I legitimately mean them. It's either them doing a very good Tim Sale or they're doing their own thing, and it's just a really good issue, or it's a hot mess. And that's the sad part about this, is that's the problem when you have fill-in artists like this. Like, you don't know what you're gonna get. And I don't want to talk shit about, but you'll know when you read it. You're like, oh, that was the issue he was talking about. That's not good, you know. So anyway. But The
Yeah.
Long Halloween, the first one, excellent. Go read it. Go read it. Go
Please,
read
yeah,
it.
please
Yeah.
read it. It's really good. The show Penguin kind of takes a little bit of
Yeah. Yes.
stuff from the Long Halloween, so definitely like that than Long Halloween.
I believe so did some of the Batman movie, the one with Pat or our
Yeah,
Bats. I think took a little bit from it too. It's great. It's, and look, I know we talk shit about Jeff Loeb too. Not inten-
we
Again,
talk a lot of shit
it's
about a lot of people, huh?
yeah, we do, don't we? I feel bad. Like, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be the shit talker. But
Yeah.
look, if it's bad, it's
Oh
not
well, then our
good.
opinion, Yeah,
Yeah, that's
we have
true.
our
We got
opinions.
issues. We got issues.
We got issues.
Um, I will say, like, the Long Halloween and Dark Victory are excellent. They're excellent, excellent books. From writing to just the art. It's those are, A's.
Yeah.
In my book. Well, and speaking of A's, what's your final grade for this the year one miniseries, Josh?
Oh, this is an A. Of
Yeah,
course, this I think this is. We talked about with seminal reading for comic
yep,
book fans, or just if you want to
yep,
read more about Batman. I think this one definitely has to be on that list.
yep,
And it's not only just on that list. I think it should be first on the list because
yep,
it's a good jumping point
yep,
for Batman. Because look, even if you're not a comic book fan, you know who Batman is. You know
yep.
his origin. You know most of it. Some of his villains. This is just a more of a layer of his origin that I think you need to read.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think this is one of those things where I kind of joke, it's like, oh, do you buy this in trade? Do you read it digitally? Do you buy the hardbound?
Mm.
This is one of those books,
All of the
unfortunately,
above.
I don't have it in the hard. I've been meaning to find like a cheaper copy. It's a cheap copy of a hardcover. It's hard to justify spending $125 for the absolute edition when it's only 4 issues, even if they
Or
give
yeah,
you both of like versions of the colored versions of 4 issues. It's hard to justify that. That said, it's really good. And, we talked about this a little bit with The Authority. It's like The Authority, while at its time, in my opinion, it was revolutionary, but it has since aged not well. This has aged well. It's still
mhm.
just as good, if not better, you know what I mean, than when it came out. And I think that's kind of like a testament to just it is a book from both the writing and the art and the coloring, you know.
It's Frank Miller on all cylinders, which is
Yeah.
a very good comic book
What
writing.
what he is, man, he's fucking great.
Hmm.
That's all I'm gonna say. I
Yeah,
don't want to say
it's
anything else.
that the good thing is it's either one end of the spectrum or the complete opposite of the spectrum. There's no mediocre with Frank Miller.
There's Superman Year One if you want to read that.
Ugh, I did, and it's ugh.
I not only have the issues of that, I even have the hardcover, and the hardcover, I'm like, shit, man, why did I buy that?
Yeah,
Like,
why?
why
Why the
did I?
oversized hardcover?
Because they look cool. I like those over. I do have to admit, I love the magazine oversized books, and I'm like, I love
Cheap,
those. Yeah, I just like the way it
cheap.
looks. And I am. Oh, absolutely, I am.
Doesn't matter. Bad.
There's a reason I have all of Zeb Wells' run of Amazing Spider-Man,
Oh my goodness.
from the most recent arc, despite all
Yeah.
the Paul and Mary Jane stuff. Oh man, but I
Mm.
digress. I'm hoping Joe Kelly brings it home, baby. Let's put it that way. All right.
So does everybody.
Yeah, but anyway,
Um,
A plus must buy. Go get it if you haven't. Like, it deserves a spot on your bookshelf.
that's it really for Batman Year One. Again, please go read it at the quickest convenience that you can. It's on digital. It's everywhere. Um, and like we said at the beginning of the episode, we had a request on Blue Sky, which you can get us at We Got Issues Cast. No, it's just at We Got Issues on Blue Sky, or We Got Issues Cast on Instagram, and then the BComp on
The
Blue
B comp.
Sky.
Yeah.
And so we take suggestions, and we love that people want to know our opinions on stuff. I think that's awesome, and it makes my heart a flutter. But Benny Six Cats, he was asking us about the Doomsday casting announcement and kind of what we think about it, and then we thought just to tie it in with the CinemaCon news that came out too. So
Yeah.
um,
Can I throw a quick ad lib in real quick?
please throw in a quick ad lib.
So when I saw his post, I read it as Doomsday Cast. I was like, oh, he wants us to do a podcast about Doomsday. the villain for Superman. I was like, well,
Yeah,
good thing I've been buying all these old Superman issues. I guess I'm ready for that. And then okay, I've got the whole thing about the casting announcement. I'm like, oh, that's what he
that's.
meant. God, I'm a fool.
No, I mean,
Sorry, Ben.
we'll yeah. No, but we'll
How you
do an
doing, Ben? By the
episode
way,
about that.
I miss you, Ben. How you been? We gotta get
We
coffee
miss you,
sometime.
Ben. Yeah. So quick history about Ben.
Don't
I
give too
swear,
much.
I know, I know. No, I really hope that this is the correct Ben too. So, like, if we're just talking about him randomly, it's just like I don't know what
Some
the
other
hell they're
Ben. I'm
talking
like,
about.
oh crap.
Yeah. No, but Alpha had a public access show, and it was the first time we were able to. We got issues on camera or on something to record. So,
Yeah,
and Ben was the producer on that. He's the one
it
that
was.
recruited us in there. So
Thank
that was
you.
he's the one. He's kind of the one of the unnamed forefathers of this
Yeah, he
here
is.
podcast.
He's the yeah, I'll just go with that. I like that. Forefathers. That's great.
Yeah, there we
But
go.
anyway, we gotta get coffee again, Ben.
Yeah, yes, we do. I don't know. You guys can. Um, but so like we said, they did a live stream that was like 4 hours, and they had different of the acting chairs and with the names on it, and they just went through, which I think, and this is my theory, that this is only the first announcement. I think there's going
Yeah.
to be more because
Yeah.
there's a lot of blaring uh names that are not there.
Oh.
Um so just kind of going down the list, there was first, it started off with Chris Hemsworth. We have Tom Hiddleston in there, which is a surprise if you've watched
Full sticks.
Loki season 2. Um, Shang-Chi is back. Simu Liu is going to be in there. I think we have a lot of the Thunderbolts in there as well. With Bucky is coming back. The Red Guardian, Yelena, and Ghost, and John Walker. I can't. I was like blanking on Walker
It's
there.
Russell or whatever.
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
Russell? Sorry.
Wyatt Russell, which
Yeah.
he looks just like his dad. I swear to God.
Yeah. Well, that's why he's in that Godzilla show, man. Which I didn't
Yeah,
know
that's right.
I didn't know Matt Fraction was the showrunner on that.
Oh, I didn't know that either. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
And then we also have Paul Rudd coming back as Ant-Man, of course, and some more surprises though too. The Leticia Wright as Shuri.
Sure.
M'Baku is coming back,
Yeah.
and then Namor is coming back
Yeah.
as well, which I was a little bit surprised by that, but it kind of makes sense because it was a rumor too. Like in Black Panther 2, that's where Doom was supposed to
Yeah.
show up. He
Show
was
up at
supposed to
the
be one of
end.
the people that were jumping in, trying to get the vibranium. But Anthony Mackie's coming back, hot off
Makes
the heels
sense.
of Captain America, Brave New World, and same thing with Danny Ramirez. I think
It's,
is the guy's name, who
Falcon.
plays Joaquin. Yeah, Falcon and Joaquin Torres. Yeah, Danny Ramirez. That was right. And then I said Red Guardian, but yeah, David Harbour, and then we have Lewis Pullman, who's going to be Sentry, which we don't know too much about him yet. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
people are speculating, and there's a lot of, but nobody's. I haven't seen the movie yet. It's going to be in Thunderbolts, but um, other big names were all the Fantastic Four casts, which with a movie like Doomsday, you would expect all of them to be there.
Yes.
And then now we're getting into the say what version of the casting announcements, because we get some OG X-Men in this
Yeah.
here. We got James Marsden, we got Patrick Stewart, we got Ian McKellen, and then we have Kelsey Grammer, we have Rebecca Romaine,
Nice.
and also the big one I thought was out of left field is Ellen Cumming as Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Channing Tatum as Gambit. He's kind of playing around. He's like, "Oh, I have a chair, but I don't know if I'm in the movie." Oh, shut up, dude. We all know this. That's a very quick rundown of the cast,
And
but
then
without the
Rob,
big name.
RDJ at the end,
RDJ,
right?
RDJ at the end is playing Doctor Doom. I know. So here's the question though: do you think they're going to do Tony Stark different version, or are they going to do Victor Vaughn?
That's a loaded question.
Right?
Um, I'm usually wrong when it comes to speculation. I got to imagine it's got to be a version of Tony Stark who is Doctor Doom in an alternate timeline. I mean, it
Mhm.
seems weird to have RDJ play Victor Von Doom. I got to imagine it's just a different. I mean, we've seen, you know, was it Mr. Fantastic as Doctor Doom, right? In the new was it
The Ultimates?
6160? Yeah. We've seen plenty of times, other characters take up the mantle of Doom or take up the mantle as Iron Man. I mean, Doom wore the Iron Man or as the infamous Iron Man for a bit
Right.
too. So I got to imagine it's got to be RDJ back as like a version of Iron Man that got corrupted somehow, or so like became a fascist or whatever. I don't know. That would be my take initially. I mean, because you're already playing around with if you got the X Men coming back from everyone from Nightcrawler to Cyclops to Gambit, you're already messing around with continuity. You can pull from any like incursion you want.
Mhm.
It would make sense that it's that because like from what I understand, I think they're going to use this opportunity to kind of reset more of the MCU so they can get Captain America back, a
Mhm.
younger, not Chris Evans per se, but a younger guy who can play Captain America for another 20 years. And same with, same with a new Iron Man, because you can't have not have Iron Man. You know what I mean? So that would be my guess. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm still on the fence if we're even going to see RDJ's face.
Oh yeah, I
'Cause
get
this
you.
is
I get you.
Doctor Doom. Like, he
Yeah,
could
yeah.
just be doing the voice
Yeah.
of Victor Von Doom. I mean, that could be the thing, and then
Totally.
save the reveal for Secret Wars like they
That's
do
true.
in the
That's
book.
that that'd totally be fine too. That'd be fine too.
It
But
could,
I do think it's gonna be Tony Stark though, like not Victor
mhm,
Von Doom though. It's
like,
like
he
if I
gets
had to.
horribly scarred in that accident in
Yeah.
Afghanistan instead of
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
that'd be
then
my take
what's
on
going to
it.
be the connection with him and Mr. Fantastic? Is it going to be the same type of rivalry there too? Like, are they from the same universe?
No,
There's
I
a lot
got
of
to imagine.
questions that are up.
I mean, I got to imagine the FF, at least the version we're going to see, it's going to be some kind of incursion that's going to let them flop into our universe or the MCU
Mhm.
version of the universe or whatever. Because, like we see Galactus in the trailer for the FF,
Mhm.
and it takes place in the 60s, and they've got to get them into modern times. We've never heard reference to the FF in any of the movies or any of the stuff up to this point.
Right.
So unless there's some kind of weird like time loop where they end up like erasing their own existence, which is a possibility, it's got to be like they get flopped in from another reality and end up in this one, and I don't know. That's just me.
Or you could be on the bandwagon of Franklin Richards coming out and then
Sure.
him doing something,
I
because
mean, that's
that
true.
the first steps
Yeah,
has been speculated. That's, we're talking baby talk. So
that's true too. That's absolutely
um,
true. I mean, Franklin's responsible for Counter Earth. You know what I mean? Like the sort of
right,
Heroes Reborn and Heroes,
reborn.
Return and all.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Oh man, I'd love to do an episode about that.
which one?
And
The one in 2015 or the one in 96, 97?
96, 97, the good one, the Leafield one. Any of these casting like really surprise you though?
I know everyone's like up in arms. Oh my god, the X Men are back! I'm like, we knew they were coming. Like, if I recall, the post credit sequence to Marvels is
Kelsey
Photon ending
Grammer,
up.
yeah.
Yeah, it was the Kelsey Grammer. I was like, okay, like it makes sense. I mean, I'm surprised that they're getting Patrick Stewart back. That guy, I love Patrick Stewart. I'm a
Mhm.
Captain Picard is my boy. Dude's getting old. He's finally looking like he's always looked old because of the shaved or the head, but like he's getting older now. You know what I mean?
Same
And I
thing with
felt
Ian
like
McKellen.
yeah, exactly. It's like he looked old in Doctor Strange 2. Like he looked old in that. And that was
Yeah,
what, 5 years ago? 4 years ago or
yeah.
something like that. So that kind of surprised me, I would say. But, based on the love that Channing Tatum got for Gambit, like I mean, how do you not have him in there? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm a
And
little bit surprised they went with the OG cast of X-Men 2 and not the first class cast, like,
dude,
McAvoy, Fassbender.
yeah, but you know what? I mean, with the exception of those two, a lot of that is like kind of. I mean, like the Dark Phoenix did not do well, and like Days of Futures Past, while good, it was the only kind of real good one. You know what I mean? Like what was
Mhm.
the
Well, I
Apocalypse
love
one?
first cast. First Class was good.
First Class was good too, but like after that, it's like you have the Apocalypse one. It's like, oh
Yeah,
man, you wasted Oscar Isaac in that. He's covered in black plastic or blue plastic, and then like Phoenix,
he looks like Ivan News.
yeah, he did. Which that's the one thing I will say that I was upset that we didn't see more of was more of the Marvel TV casting. I would love. I know Moon Knight didn't resonate with a lot of people, but I love Oscar Isaac so much. I really do.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. We don't. I mean, this is so far.
That's true.
Not just so.
Yeah.
We just like so. There were some blaring names that were not
Yeah.
included, like any of the Spider-Men.
Yep.
Doctor Strange was not in there. Okoye was not in
Yep.
there.
Yep.
Hawkeye,
Yeah.
She-Hulk, the Hulk.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of
Sakaar or whatever. Not Sakaar. What is it? His son with that weird haircut.
Yeah. Daredevil and none of the Defenders.
That's true.
Yeah, Riri Williams, who just is
she's doing Ironheart
new
right
show
now.
coming out. Yeah.
Well, they just announced that Spider-Man, the new one's gonna be what, Brand New Day or whatever is gonna be
Brand New Day.
Yeah, which
God, now here come back the Mephisto bullshit rumors. Thank you so much.
Deal with all that shit again. Yeah, but you're right. I forgot that they obviously it may be one of those things too where they do like half the cast is in Doomsday and the other half show up for Secret Wars because Russo brothers are doing these films, right?
Yep, they're doing these films again. And I was though surprised with Loki, Tom Hiddleston.
Hiddlesticks. How many times has he been killed though? He's been killed like 3 or 4 times. You know what I mean?
Well, he wasn't necessarily spoiler for Loki season 2. He wasn't necessarily killed, so it's just going to be interesting to see how he plays into this incursion Doomsday thing.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I'm not surprised to see him. They always find a way to bring Hiddlesticks back, is what I'm trying to say.
Also, what version of Loki are we going to get? The president one, or is it going to be a lot of nowhere stuff?
Loki on the couch for anybody. Sorry, that's an inside joke to two of my old producers.
Oh, there you go.
Loki on the couch. We basically what happened is when we did one of the trailer breakdowns, we got shit on because we didn't include Loki. How'd you miss Loki on the couch? I'm like, because he was right there. It's not an Easter egg, or it's in the thing. Oh, you missed Loki on the couch. I'm like, and we just kept like, I guess we forgot Loki on the couch, guys. So,
anyway. Yeah. But with that though, do you think this casting kind of gives any insight of how the storyline will be?
No, I mean,
I got nothing.
It's just incursions. It's going to be incursions, and I think that's how these people are going to cross over. I think if they do what they did with, I think they did it very effectively with Infinity War and Endgame. It's like they're clearly going to be part of 2 parts of the same movie, but they did a really good job of delineating the 2 and making them feel like separate films. It'll be something similar to that. Like they're obviously going to bleed into each other, but the Russo brothers did a really, really good job of making it like this is Empire Strikes Back, and then here's Return of the Jedi. You know what I mean? Like, I absolutely. I mean, to this day, I think I still think that like Infinity Gauntlet or Infinity War is like my favorite of all the Marvel films. Like that ending hits me hard every time I watch that ending.
And I remember I can't consider them one movie.
Yeah, well, remember originally it was supposed to be Infinity War 1 and Infinity War Part 2. And they're like, no, we're going to curve it out. So it's more, this is Thanos' movie. And then this is and I think they did a really good job with that. And I think we'll see something similar with this. This will be someone's movie. And then, and then, I know there's those rumors about Chris Evans, which apparently got debunked, but that's where suddenly they show up in the next one. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I think we'll see what happens with Secret Wars. Will be more of the crazier, returns, I think.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about this cast, though. I was really excited to see who's who. I'm glad Shang-Chi is back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was great. Shang-Chi was fun.
Yeah.
What they need to do is reprint those books. They can't because of licensing issues, but that's a whole other topic.
Yeah, that's for another podcast. Brian's issues.
Yeah.
Brian's got issues.
Oh, I got issues, baby.
And if you think about it too, with the cast announcement with like most of the Thunderbolts, it kind of does a spoiler for the Thunderbolts movie because Taskmaster's not in there at all.
It's like, so
something might be actually dying.
Maybe. that needs someone needs to die.
Yeah,
The Dark Avengers movie, whatever.
yeah, but also it was kind of blaringly not in there any of the Marvels. Captain Marvel, Miss
That's a
Marvel,
good
or
point.
Photon
Well, Photon will have to be in it. Though you're absolutely right. She's
has
got to
to.
be. She's literally meets the Beast in the
Yeah,
end. Yeah. So, well, you're
and
right. Maybe that's why we're gonna see some of those like Marvel TV characters like Miss Marvel or Moon Knight
yeah,
or etc. She Hulk, etc.
um, none of the Guardians are in there either, which was interesting.
Yeah.
At least a Pratt was not in there, so
Well, I know there was some spoiler leaks for some art that got. I don't want to get into that, but there
that
was
was
interesting.
debunked by the Russos.
Oh, was it?
No, the
Okay.
Russo said that like that's not real. So
Are they saying
they
that,
could
or are
just
they
be
saying?
saying that. Yeah,
Yeah,
they could
yeah,
just be saying that.
yeah.
But
Because Duke,
it was
baby.
interesting kind of book or it's interesting art. So
Yeah. Um, was there any other kind of casting news that came out that I was unaware, or any
not
other?
Doomsday wise, but like moving on to like CinemaCon stuff. CinemaCon just happened, and
Mhm.
they showed you did some stuff for Thunderbolts. But the big news from it was like two things that are big news from it. I think um or just nerd wise. First was the Superman extended
Yeah,
teaser, which was like about almost 5 minutes, and it was
it was
just
like
kind of
four and a half
more of
minutes
like
or
a
something like that. Yeah,
yeah, it was an
extended cut of.
extension, yeah, of that scene with Crypto, and you see who Alan Tudyk is going to be. Like he's the voice
He's
of
gonna be one of the
one of the
robots, right?
Kryptonite or the Krypton robots, and kind of get to see the Fortress of Solitude and going back to crystals, yeah, which was great.
How do you
And
think they take that and they transplant that with his character from Rogue One or Andor, K2SO? You know what I mean?
or even I Human.
Oh, it's true too. That too.
I did not murder him.
Uh,
Um, is it, I no, it's not I Human. Sorry, I Robot.
I
That's what it is.
Robot.
I Robot. Yeah,
I got what you meant. I got what
he
you
was picking up what I was putting down. Yeah.
meant. Yeah.
Um, that would be great. I mean, I'd love to see. Just he just likes to play robots.
It's easy work, baby. All he does the mocap for him. So to be fair, he
Yeah.
does do the mocap. I'm like, and maybe that's why I've been picking up a lot more of these like Superman shows. Telling you, I've been going through dollar bins and pulling like 80s and 90s issues out of Superman. I'm pumped. I'm pumped for the Superman movie. I watched the that extended cut with my kid the other day, and he's like, "When do we get to watch that?" I'm like, "Dude, as soon as it comes out, baby."
Yeah, and you know what really got me with that trailer though, as someone who just got a puppy, Crypto was just like a puppy where he's trying to play around and like hurting him.
Yeah.
He's like that was like, oh my gosh, that is
Yes.
what I'm going through right now. And
Yes.
I'll post it on Instagram or something, but
All right.
my hands are so scarred right now from piranha teeth. It's not even funny.
It's fine.
Um,
That is funny.
yeah, it's not very funny. Not when you're getting cuts. Um, but I mean, so and then the other news though, like I think they showed the full movie of How to Train Your Dragon, the live action,
Don't
which
care.
got some good
Buzz.
reviews. I like them. I like those movies. The art, the
I
cinema quality is really good.
That's fine. I don't hate it, but I also don't care. I mean, I hate to say it. Just
Well,
like
this
that's one
is
of
my
those things.
point. No,
It's one of those things that
well,
just flew past my radar, baby.
yeah, I think that, and then they showed the cast for the Beatles, the like Joseph Quinn, something Barry, whatever the ex boyfriend of Sabrina Carpenter, that guy, the Barry, whatever his name is.
Okay.
I'm horrible with names.
It's fine.
And then two other British guys. No, it's funny how Joseph Quinn is in the Fantastic Four and he's part of
Yeah.
the Fab Four, so it's kind of fun.
Hey, I love it.
Yeah, right. Um,
Are you a Beatles guy?
I am. I'm a Beatles. It was ingrained from my dad. My dad's a big Beatles
Nice.
fan, and it's
Nice.
actually fun to joke with him and say that the Rolling Stones are better because he gets angry like at a disproportionate amount of anger
Tell 'em-
that comes out. But
just gotta tell them
no,
that
we have a
Zeppelin. So just tell them
yeah,
Zeppelin
yeah,
rules.
yeah, yeah. But we have a just just fun memories about there's a radio show. It's like breakfast with the
Breakfast with
Beatles,
the
and
Beatles. Yeah,
so
I know. Yeah.
yeah, so he'd be making pancakes on Sunday morning and listen to Breakfast with the Beatles.
Well,
This
it's
is one
funny.
of that's a good memory of mine.
I'm actually it's in the back of my car. I was doing a thing where I bought this, I think it's called Revolution in the Mind. It's basically this guy went through and basically reviewed every, and it's like he was like a Beatles, like the
Mm.
like foremost authority on it, like reviews every single like cut of their songs, like, oh, this was a, and
Wow.
he gets into the history of it. And so what I was doing all last year, and I kind of stopped this year, was when I take my kid to work, or to school rather, I'd put on like that, I'd read the essay, and then
Hmm.
or I'd rather put the track on, and then as I'm walking to school, then walking back to my car, I'd read the essay based on that song, and just kind of like, and
Hmm.
then re-listen to it
Nice.
again. It's really cool. Yeah, that all said, Beatles are all right, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, they're okay. They did okay. I think they
They
did
did
all
all right
right.
with it. Did all right. Well,
Um,
speaking of books that we are reading, what are you
Speaking of book, that's a
reading?
horrible transition.
It's perfect. I'm talking about a book I was reading, and now I'm talking about the books you're reading.
Okay, 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 sure, okay, sure. So
That's a
what am
good
I?
transition in the biz. That's a good transition. All right.
Well, first and foremost, I'm really not the person to say what's a good or bad transition because my transitions are horrible. Um, but the book that I would recommend that I'm reading right now, it's only 2 issues in, but it's still fun. It's the Herculoids.
Okay.
Do you remember that cartoon, the
I remember that
Herculoids?
cartoon. Yeah.
It's doing that same thing that I like they're doing with Space Ghost and stuff, making it more modern, more adult, and just
Yeah.
more serious. And it's just a fun read. It's that weird Saturday morning cartoon where it has that
Yeah.
rhinoceros that shoots lava stones out of its nose, and
Yeah.
the
Love to
guy that
hear it.
looks kind of like King Kong and
All right.
dragon. And uh,
Is it
it's a mix of like sci-fi and caveman stuff. It's great.
is it Dynamite doing that?
Yes, it's dynamite.
Yeah,
Dynamite.
because I like their Johnny Quest book that they did. The Space Ghost
Mhm.
didn't really hit for me, and they did that. Was the other one they did was like Silverhawk, and it just, or Silverhawks, it just didn't do it for
Mhm.
me. So I kind of like leaned off on that one. But if you're recommending, I'll check it out.
I would try to go back to Space Ghost too. I think it really picks up.
The writer, I think it's David Peepoys, I think is his name.
Mhm.
He didn't do it for me. He did Savage Avengers, and it didn't kind of land for
Mhm.
me. And then his Punisher, where they kind of redid the Punisher, as like his name was like Joe Garrison or something like that. And it was like, okay, he's gonna be a Shield agent that becomes the Punisher. And it was like, maybe they'll update it. And like, no, it's almost the exact same origin as Frank Castle's. Oh,
Mhm.
my family got killed, and I'm gonna go kill criminals. And it was just like, I just got
Mhm.
updated weaponry from Shield, and it just kind of, it ended before it, like they literally did, well, here's 4 issues. They didn't even like, it was supposed to be an ongoing, they just kind of ended it with like unceremoniously. So he's a writer. I'm not saying he's a bad writer, just he doesn't land for me, but I'll try and give it another shot. I'll try and give it another shot.
Yeah, I mean it's a little bit of twists and
All right.
characters that used to you could not take seriously because it was a Saturday morning
Yeah.
cartoon. You could make some
But that's the
serious.
problem, is, you know what, I have no nostalgic memory of that book outside of the weird talk show that he did, and I don't
Exactly.
even.
Oh, Space Ghost Coast to Coast is so amazing.
Okay, yeah, I just, it doesn't have any like resonance with me in that
Yeah.
regard. So, oh, okay, all right, well, that's cool then. I'll
Brian,
check
what are
out
you
the.
reading?
Oh, what am I reading? Well, as I mentioned, I am snatching up old school Superman comics from the 80s and 90s. That's kind of the big thing, but obviously all the absolute stuff and the ultimate stuff, and as I mentioned, all the Zeb Wells Spider-Man. I'm reading really, but I would recommend Saga right now. It just, I think they're going on hiatus again, but the last issue really kind of upset the status quo for the book. So if you're reading that, read it. I'm also really enjoying the Aliens versus Avengers book. Jonathan Hickman and Isad Ribic are doing it. It's beautiful, but it's like, it's ingraining. It's not just like that. Oh, hey, here a bunch of aliens showed up on Earth, and
Hmm.
oh, it's like really getting into the alien mythology with the engineers and all of that,
Hmm.
and it's set in the future. It's not just like, it's like, this is old Tony Stark and old Captain America, as they're
Oh,
dealing with this.
gotcha.
Miles is Spider-Man, you know what I mean? And like the symbiote on this, because he's wearing like a symbiote costume, like absorbs one of the xenomorphs, and like it's cool. It's really really fun. So there's three of the
Yeah,
four issues are out, but
I've heard nothing but good things. But since you also recommended it, I'll have to check it out. And
check it out.
speaking of Hickman and Ribbon, speaking of Secret Wars, they were the team on
Yep.
Secret Wars.
Yeah. Yep. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Right on. So those are our recommendations, and those are our thoughts on Batman Year One. Again, it's definitely a must read. And thanks again to Benny Six Cats who gave us that recommendation to talk about Doomsday cast. I know we kind of went through it fast, and if you want more of a deep dive, we can definitely discuss or go into that some other
Or,
time,
or we just
we'll
get a
find a
coffee
story that kind of
together.
goes into it. Or no, we can just find a story that kind of leans into it a little bit more. Like we'll do Secret Wars when it gets
Yeah,
closer to the
the
actual
movie
movie,
sounds good.
or even just a good Doctor Doom story, which
There's a
would be
lot of
fun.
them. There's a lot of good Doctor Doom
Oh
stories.
yeah, very much so. The Wade one was really good too, when he has that leather like creepy
The
armor.
leather magic armor with like the made from the
Yeah,
skin of his great girlfriend or
you're
whatever.
right. You're right. Ugh.
Ugh.
That's like Leatherface, but in
Yeah,
comics. But yeah, that's our episode. Thanks for listening. Please, like always, please go find us if you're listening on Spotify or SoundCloud or YouTube or Apple Podcasts.
podcast.
Give us
Five-star
one of
rating.
those nice 5-star ratings, those sweet 5-star ratings,
Be sure to
and give us some
subscribe.
comments too.
Yep.
I mean, we'll take good and the bad, but mostly ignore the
For good.
bad. And yeah, and please, it's what the YouTuber says. This is a conversation. This is something that we want to have more with people too. Recommendations and
Mhm.
back and forths, and just having more fun. I mean, eventually we could turn this into something that's like a more of a live chat too.
Yep.
So,
Well, that's the
um,
hope. Just the
yeah,
hope is like obviously A, to get more episodes out on a little more of a timely basis, but B, like if this grows into something like start doing Patreon episodes, start doing like live streams, start doing stuff like that. But I digress.
it all starts with you commenting and letting us know how we're doing,
There we go.
which we all love that. And again, we're on Instagram. We got issues cast. We're on Blue Sky with We Got Issues. Brian's
Or
on Blue Sky with the BComp.
uh-huh.
And check out duffenshaw.com/issues too for them sweet snacks. Uh,
Next
yeah.
episode, I
Anything else?
believe. Yeah, I'll say the
Oh,
next
next
episode.
episode, huh?
Yeah, teasy.
Yeah.
Unless something bigger comes our way, we're planning on doing Batman Year 2 and potentially Batman Year 3 right after that. There's a chance we could switch gears and do maybe something with Logan/Wolverine, but I think we'll probably do
Or
Batman Year
even
2
Punisher.
or Punisher.
We've
And
had a recommendation for Punisher as well, so that
yeah,
might
that might maybe
peek
we
its head.
push that. Yeah, it might peek its head. Will depend. It'll depend. But again, please just let us know. We do this because we love it, but we want you engaged as well.
Yeah.
Like, this is I'd say this is a two-way street, but it's not. It's really a one-way street, but we can see
Right.
you as we drive by when you're trying to give us like
Yeah.
the hitchhiking thumb. Yeah.
Yeah, or the Oscar Mayer Wiener mobile. You see us when we come by. You know what we're about, but you can't really have any interaction with us.
I
Um.
was those more armor hot dog. Bad
Oh
joke.
my gosh. Goodness gracious.
All right.
Goodness. Yeah. On that note,
Uh,
on that great note to end it on. Way to go, Brian.
thanks.
I'm kidding. I'm
What
kidding.
kind of kids eat armor hot dogs? Fat
Ugh,
kids,
I have
skinny
no idea
kids,
this.
kids who climb on rocks. Sorry. Tough kids,
Oh
sissy
goodness.
kids,
All
even
right.
kids with chicken pox love hot dogs. Oh, we're
We
not
are
even funded
sleep
by Armor Hot
deprived.
Dogs. What's that?
We're sleep deprived.
Yeah, it's The
Um.
Simpsons.
Oh goodness.
Well, I'm sure Armor Hot Dogs are real, but like I got that from The Simpsons.
Right.
I'm fucking
Right.
tired, man.
I know. That's what I've said. We're sleep
I've been
deprived,
up
and
since
that's
4.
yeah. Um.
All
Okay.
right.
Thanks everybody. We'll catch you on the next one, and thanks for listening.
Peace.